everyone, Chris here, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my very first book haul. So this book haul includes all the books I've gotten in the first 3 months of 2021. I've got a pretty decent stack over here, so let's just dive right in. So first up, I'm going to show you what I got from Owl Crate. So I have a few bookish related things here. So I got the Step Boldly Nevermore sticker that I'm assuming was in their special edition Nevermore box. I got a set of magnetic bookmarks that are Robin Hood and Little John from the Disney cartoon movie, as that was my favorite Disney movie when I was a kid. I got this really cool Percy Jackson bookmark. This is Blackjack from Percy Jackson, and it's a metal bookmark, and I just thought it was really cool. And then the main thing I got from Owl Crate was their special edition version of Marina and the Night Brothers. I read this book last month and I really just loved it, so when I saw that Owl Crate had a special edition version of it, I decided to get that version, as it comes with this cool sticker. Obviously a signature that I can stick in my book. A really cool Amari bookmark. And then, of course, the author letter, which I thought was really cool. So I believe the coloring is different on this cover compared to the regular version. But other than that, I don't know if there's much difference outside of the extras that you get with it, but I'm really stoked to have it. Next up is a book my mom grabbed for me at Dollar General, and it is The Revolution of Marina M by Janet Fitch. This is a historical fiction book that is set in St. Petersburg on New Year's Eve in 1916. And it says that we're following a girl named Marina, who is a woman of privilege and is aching to break free of constraints of her genteel life. And her life is about to be upended by history. It says, swept on these tides of great change, Marina will join the marches for workers' rights, fall in love with a radical young poet, and betray everything she holds dear before being betrayed in turn. So, it's a pretty chunky book, but my mom thought I would like it, and she knows I like historical fiction, so I'm looking forward to checking this out at some point. Next up, I'm going to go through the books I got from Book of the Month. I don't remember which months I got which books, but these are all from January, February, and March. First up is Send For Me by Lauren Fox. This is a historical fiction. It's an achingly beautiful work of historical fiction that moves between Germany on the eve of World War II and present-day Wisconsin, unspooling a thread of love, longing, and the powerful bonds of family. So, I remember when I read the description, it sounded interesting, and I like historical fiction, so it seemed like a no-brainer to grab this one. Next is Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. Kristen Hanna is an auto-buy author for me, so when I saw that this was an option for Book of the Month, there was no way I wasn't getting this one. So this book is set during the Great Depression, and we follow Elsa, who has to make tough choices for her family. And like I said, Kristen Hanna is an auto-buy author for me, so there was no way I wasn't grabbing this one. Next up is The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. I heard somebody talking about this months ago and how much they enjoyed it. I can't remember who, but whoever it was that I saw talking about it made me want to read it. And so when I saw that it was an option for Book of the Month, I definitely plan to grab it. It says, a forgotten history, a secret network of women, a legacy of poison and revenge. Welcome to The Lost Apothecary. I think this is a historical fiction with a slight fantastical twist. Not to mention, I think the cover is absolutely stunning, so I was excited when I saw that it was an option. Next, I got The Dating Plan by Sarah Desai. I believe this is a, fake engagement romance book. Yeah, it says, even with a step-by-step plan, these fake fiancés might accidentally fall for each other in this hilarious, heartfelt romantic comedy. I definitely like the fake dating trope, so I'm hoping I like the way it plays out in this book. Next, I got This Tender Land by William Kent Kruger. I saw Krista from Books and Jams talk about this book on her channel, and she made it sound really good, so I used it as one of my add-ons. This is another historical fiction, and it says, In the summer of 1932, on the banks of Minnesota's Gilded River, the Lincoln Indian Training School is a pitless place where Native American children forcibly separated from their parents are sent to be educated. It is also home to Odie O'Banion, a lively orphan boy whose exploits constantly earn him the superintendent's wrath. Odie and his brother Albert are the only white faces among the hundreds of Native American children at the school. After committing a terrible crime, Odie and Albert are forced to flee for their lives along with their best friend Mose, a mute young man of Sioux heritage. Out of pity, they also take with them a broken-hearted little girl named Emmy. Together, they steal away in a canoe heading for the mighty Mississippi in search of a place to call home. Over the course of one unforgettable summer, these 4 orphan vagabonds journey into the unknown, crossing paths with others who are adrift, from struggling farmers and traveling faith healers to displaced families and lost souls of all kinds. With the feel of a modern classic, This Tender Land is an enthralling, big-hearted epic that shows how magnificent American landscape connects us all, haunts our dreams, and makes us whole. So it for sure sounds interesting, and it having Krista's approval definitely makes me more interested in reading it. Next is This Time Next Year by Sophie Cousins. This is another romance, and it says their lives began together, but their worlds couldn't be more different. After years of misconnections, they're about to meet. I believe this follows 2 characters who have the same birthday, which I believe is New Year's Eve, and they're both very different people. And somehow they cross paths and end up meeting, and I'm going to assume since it's a romance, fall in love. This sounded like my kind of romance, so I'm excited to check it out. And the last book I got from Book of the Month is The Sun-Crossed Sisters of Tuscany by Lori Nelson Spielman. So, since the day Philomena Fontana cast a curse upon her sister more than 200 years ago, not one second-born Fontana daughter has found lasting love. Some, like Amelia, the happily single baker at her grandfather's Brooklyn deli, claim it's an odd coincidence. Others, like her sexy, desperate-for-love cousin Lucy, insist it's a true hex. But both are bewildered when their great-aunt calls with an astounding proposition. If they accompany her to her homeland of Italy, Aunt Poppy vows she'll meet the love of her life on the steps of the Ravello Cathedral on her 80th birthday and break the Fontana second-daughter curse once and for all. Against the backdrop of wandering Venetian canals, rolling Tuscan fields, and enchanting Amalfi Coast villages, romance blooms, destinies are found, and family secrets are unearthed. Secrets that could threaten the family far more than a centuries-old curse. So again, this sounds like my kind of book, like a romance maybe, with strong family vibes and a fantastical element. So, again, another no-brainer. Next up is a pre-order I got, and that's A Vow So Bold and Deadly by Bridget Kemmer. This is the 3rd book in a Curse So Dark and Lonely series. I don't know if you can see, I have the first 2 books up here, and I loved both of them, so I definitely wanted to get the 3rd one. This is the special Barnes & Noble edition. So it's got, like, the fancy hardback and the pretty end papers. I'm really looking forward to finally getting to read the 3rd book in this series, so pre-ordering it was a no-brainer. So the rest of these books are all tied into my birthday. So February 23rd is my birthday. So for my birthday, my mom got me The Lost Stars and The Silent Thaw. These are the first 2 books in the Broken Code arc of the Warrior series. I'm not sure which number arc this is. I'm in arc 4, and I think there's 2 arcs after that that are already done, so maybe arc 7. I know absolutely nothing about who these books follow and what is going on in these books, because obviously the descriptions would be massive spoilers, but my mom knew I didn't have these 2 and picked them up for me. So the last part is a book outlet order. My gram gives me money every year for my birthday, and I spend it on some books. So first we'll go through a few books that I got that I've already read. So first up we have The Polar Bear Explorers Club by Alex Bell. This is the first book in the Polar Bear Explorers Club series. I gave this book 5 stars earlier this year. I absolutely loved it. We follow a girl named Stella who wants to follow in her father's footsteps and be part of the Polar Bear Explorers Club, but girls aren't allowed until one day her dad convinces them to give her a try, and she becomes a junior explorer. But on her first mission, she and several other junior explorers get separated from the group. She and her fellow junior explorers have to survive the frozen tundra by themselves and find a way to get back to the group. I absolutely loved this book and can definitely see myself rereading it in the future. The next is Shifting Shadows by Aaron Hunter. This is book 4 in the Braveland series. So Aaron Hunter has several different series outside of Warriors. This one follows a lion, a baboon, and an elephant. And I own the first 3 books in the series, so when I saw the book outlet had the 4th one, there was no way I wasn't going to pick it up. All of Aaron's series tend to be arcs of 6, so I believe I've read the first 5 in this arc, but before book 6, I'm probably going to reread the whole arc before I read the ending to it, so having this book is going to be quite handy when I do my reread. The last book I got that I had already read is Wondersmith, The Calling of Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend. This is the second book in the Nevermore series. Nevermore follows Morgan Crow, who is a cursed child, which means she's destined to die on, I want to say, her 11th birthday, until a man named Jupiter North shows up and whisks her off to the land of Nevermore, where she has a chance to become part of the Wondrous Society. I absolutely adore this series, and it's probably going to be a bit before book 4 comes out, because book 3 just came out recently, so this will be handy when I go to do my reread before book 4. So this last chunk is all books that I haven't read yet. First up, we have The Honey Don't List by Christina Lauren. Christina Lauren are a writing duo that does romance books. I've read a lot of their books and really enjoyed them. A blurb on the back says, from New York Times bestselling author behind the joyful, warm, touching The Unhoneymooners comes a delightfully charming love story about what happens when 2 assistants tasked with keeping a rocky relationship from explosions start to feel sparks of their own. So I believe these are 2 assistants to a couple that works on like a home renovation show, and the couple can't stand each other, and I would assume one of them is the assistant for the husband and the other for the wife, and they have to try to keep things afloat, and while that's happening, sparks fly. All I know is I've liked a lot of Christina Lauren's books, so when I saw this on Book Outlet, I decided to pick it up. Next is Riders of the Realm Through the Untamed Sky by Jennifer Lynn Alvarez. This is the second book in the Riders of the Realm series. I read the first book and really loved it, and so I knew I was going to want to read book 2. I also got Starfire and Stormbound, which are the first 2 books in the Guardian Herd series, which is a companion series to the Riders of the Realm. I don't know whether I should have read these first or not, but I saw them mentioned, and so I knew based on the description of this first book that it somehow ties into the universe that I'm reading about in Riders of the Realm. So I definitely want to read this at some point. These books follow groups of wild Pegasi. I don't know whether there's a human component in the Guardian Herd series, but I do know that one of the points of view in the first book of Riders of the Realm was a human boy, and it bounced back and forth between the point of view of the human and the point of view of the Pegasi. I just know I really liked it, and I like books that are told from animal points of view, so I'm looking forward to at some point checking all 3 of these books out. Next up is A Kind of Paradise by Amy Rebecca Tan. This is another one that was highly recommended by Krista from Books and Jams. I know it's set in a library, and I believe our main character is volunteering there, and like I said, if Krista recommends it and really enjoyed it, that's good enough for me. Next is the first 3 books in the Last Dog series by Christopher Holt. We have The Vanishing, Dark Waters, and The Long Road. I think this is another series that are told from animal points of view, but in this one we're following dogs. Let's see. When all the humans in this world disappear, Max, a yellow Labrador retriever, begins the search for his family. But he can't make the journey alone. Joined by friends Rocky and Gizmo, Max sets off. Along the way, the trio must face a pack of angry wolves, forage for food in a land where kibble is akin to gold, befriend a house full of cats, and outsmart a gang of subway rats. Ultimately, they have to escape from the biggest threat of all, the corporation, a perfect society for dogs and by dogs, where nothing is quite as it seems. So again, like I said, I like books that are told from animal points of view, and this seemed interesting. Next, I got a Puffin classic, Tales of Ancient Egypt by Roger Laceland Green. And this is obviously a book about ancient Egypt. I love learning about ancient Egypt, so I'm really curious to see if there's anything in this book that I haven't already learned about. Next, we have The Phantom Tower by Keir Graff. It says, once you move in, you can never move out. We follow 12-year-old twins, Calm and Mal, and it's been 2 years since their dad passed away, and I guess they're just moving to Chicago for a fresh start. They discover their new home is filled with strange quirks. There's a princess on the 17th floor who warns them not to wander the building at midday, eerie sounds coming from the walls, and an elevator that's missing a button for the 13th floor. Then one afternoon, that button appears, catapulting the brothers and their inquisitive new neighbor, Tamika, into a parallel dimension and a twin building stuck in time where the ghosts of all the former residents of Brunhild Tower live on. An ancient curse threatens to keep them there forever. That is, unless Calm, Mal, and Tamika can find a way to break the spell before it's too late. So this sounds like a book that might be really good to read at, like, Halloween time, because it sounds like it's going to be a little bit spooky. I will probably hold off on reading it until then. Next is The Game Masters of Garden Place by Dennis Markle. It says, what if your favorite fantasy game characters showed up on your doorstep in real life? Sixth graders Ralph, Jojo, Noel, Persephone, and Cammy are hooked on fantasy tabletop role-playing games. When they somehow manage to summon their characters to Ralph's house, things take a truly magical turn. The five are soon racing around town on a wild adventure that tests both their RPG skills and their friendship. Trying to convince a sticky-fingered halfling rogue not to pickpocket or a 6'5" barbarian woman that you don't always have to solve conflicts with a two-handed broadsword is not easy. How will they ever send the adventurers back to their mystical realm? So yeah, this sounded kind of interesting. It gives me kind of Jumanji vibes, and I love that movie. So I'm quite curious to see how the kids handle these fictional characters showing up in their world. Next is Worth a Thousand Worlds by Bridget Young. I think this is a middle grade contemporary book. It says, ever since a car accident left Tilly with lasting painful injuries, she's hidden behind her camera. She watches her family and classmates through the lens, tracking down misplaced items and spotting the small details that tell a story much bigger than what people usually see. But she isn't prepared for the class clown, Jake Hosman's request to find his father. Tilly goes from silent observer to daring detective, but when her photographs start exposing people's secrets, she has to decide what or who is truly important to her. Heartfelt, timeless, and evocative, Bridget Young's debut novel is a story of unlikely friends standing side by side in the search for honest answers. So yeah, it sounded quite interesting, and I'm curious to see what happened to Jake's father. Next, we have Where the Watermelons Grow by Cindy Baldwin. And the little blurb on the front says, sometimes magic is found where you least expect it, and that definitely drew me in. I don't know much more about this book other than that, but between the cover and the little blurb, I knew I wanted to check it out. Next, we have Lucky Broken Girl by Ruth Behar. And it says, Lucky Broken Girl takes us into a world that is at once deeply familiar and astonishingly new. The world of young people negotiating English as a second language, of families being forced from their homelands, and of friendships across cultural divides. But most of all, it is the world of Ruthie, an unforgettable character whom I grew to love and cheer for. So that sounds like it's going to be an interesting look at this girl Ruthie's life. I guess she's moving from Cuba to New York, and I'm sure that's overwhelming. And it's going to be interesting to see how Ruthie adapts to living in New York City after growing up in Cuba. And lastly, I got The Simple Art of Flying by Corey Leonardo. I believe this follows two African gray parrots who live in a pet store, and I think they're brother and sister. And when he and his sister are bought by different people, he struggles to accept that he can't live with his sister anymore and is trying to find a way to get back to his sister. And the end says, soon he's forced to choose between the life he's always dreamed of and admitting the truth that sometimes the bravest adventure is in letting go. So this is another book that is told from an animal's perspective, and I'm looking forward to it. So that's way too many books to hold up. I'm not even going to try. But those are the books I hauled in the first 3 months of 2021. Have you read any of these books? If so, let me know about them in the comments section below, and I will try to prioritize them. Also, of the books that you haven't heard of before, which one of them sounds most interesting? If you've made it this far in the video, leave me a stack of book emojis, like this video, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!